Everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight Season 15 Reunion Part 1. And my goodness, there was a lot of things that was definitely uncovered on this episode, but here at this channel, we do a therapeutic review, and I utilize internal family systems, a model that I utilize in my therapy practice. Also, it helps us to truly understand what is happening in these couples, and also maybe potentially for us to get a little curious about what's happening inside of us. If you are returning, welcome back. Welcome back. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into it. The reunion starts with all of the cast members on the stage, and Kevin's asking questions like, how was it like to see yourself on TV? And a lot of them said, man, I had a lot of blind spots. There were a lot of things that I didn't know about myself or felt like, Nate said I felt like I could have been more open. Miguel said, man, I saw myself in ways where, man, if Lindy would have told me, I would have fought her back a little bit. This is what I've been talking about, really. Like, okay, so if we see ourselves, we feel like we know ourselves, and someone comes to us and tells us about what we're doing, our protectors are going to defend us. They're going to defend us, especially if it's something that we logically have not become aware of. We're naturally going to do that, especially in a new relationship. And so it's great for, even though sometimes it can be a bit embarrassing for some of our parts to see us in action on national television. That's why I give a lot of grace. That's why we use a lot of balance in these reviews, because we're human. We're going to make mistakes, and we're learning. These people are learning about themselves. It can be a lot. That can be a lot for an 8-week process, meeting a stranger, marrying a stranger. Speaking of that, Nate and Stasha, they did a little montage of their exploration of each other and their physical intimacy and how free they were. And Stasha said, hey, we just wanted to have fun. We were free and we were open with ourselves. And yes, they were free and open. But it did show how they were willing to, at least in one area of their relationship, relinquish control and be free. And we want to see maybe if in the emotional department, if they will allow themselves to be more open and more free with each other and relinquish control. We'll see if that happens or that has progressed in their relationship. Kevin then asks the question of, okay, I'm just going to put this out here. Who's getting along with each other? Who, are there any tiffs in the group? And there's silence, and Justin smiles and he denies. And he said, well, has anyone blocked anyone? And it comes out that Justin has blocked pretty much everyone in the cast. And this causes a huge scuffle with Justin and Nate. The sad part about this is they both could really grow from each other. They really could. Justin could help Nate to be more open with his feelings. Nate could help Justin to embrace or even to work the logical muscle for himself, so that could be a skill that he has to grow and to navigate life and any other relationships that he gets into. But because both of them are extremes, right? Justin has an extreme emotional part of him, and Nate has an extreme logical part of him, and they're going to clash. They clash inside of us, and when they interact with other people, it creates a huge polarity, right? And we see it, and both of them are protecting very similar things, which is their manhood. One of the things that Justin stated in the earlier segment of like, man, what was it like to see yourself on TV? It's like, I guess I do cry a lot. Like, there was a part of him that was, even though he says he owns his tears, there's a part of him that was carrying like a little shame about that. There was a part of him that was having some insecurity about the fact that he does cry a lot. And so both of them were protecting their manhood as man, Justin was struggling to communicate. He does get a bit scattered in his mind and not able to collect his thoughts when he is elevated emotionally. And so then when Justin gets that way, then he goes for a low blow, or he starts to become aggressive. We've seen this in his relationship with Alexis in the candy store. This is also what happened with Nate when he's going for, oh, you made a pass at me, or, get the bass out your voice. All these things because Justin just wasn't able to truly articulate himself, and this aggressive part of him was trying to protect his manhood, because Nate called him a crybaby, and it was both of their very young parts came out on national television. So it's something for them to also see and learn from, both of them, because they both have this like younger part. Even Nate, like, I'm just telling the truth. It was like if you look back at his facial expressions, very similar to one of a young child. And so both of them were in defensive mode. Both of them were in protector mode, and something for them to get curious about. 2, 1, help them to feel more secure. Help them to feel more secure about their manhood. Man, this is a missed opportunity, because they both could definitely be like an iron sharpens iron situation. But because things happen how they happened, it'll be a learning experience for them, truly. Also, Justin stated that he unfriended or blocked people on social media because they were not being their true selves. With him, they would say that they were doing things and then leave him out. And yes, there's a better way of handling that, right? Having a conversation. And I'm also curious if people were following Alexis' lead of not being honest with him because he's so sensitive, right? So in their mind, hey, I'm protecting Justin by not being completely honest with him. Got it. And at the same time, we know the harm in that is that he's looking like the actions aren't lining up with what you're saying to me. And I'm noticing that this is not okay. It's not that maybe they're fake, but there's a part of them that's protecting Justin's feelings by not being honest. And the impact of that is him feeling like he's being lied to and that nobody's being real with him. There needs to be an honest communication about this. And that's real. And that's real. Justin unfriending, blocking, back and forth, that's something that Justin needs to get curious about as well. Not that blocking people isn't necessary. I mean, sometimes it does happen. And at the same time, if that's his knee-jerk reaction every time someone does something he doesn't like, that's something to get curious about, because it's a way to have a middle ground. There's a way to have a conversation. There's a way to resolve the relationship. And maybe he felt like the damage was done, especially after seeing how people talked about him in their confessionals and things like that. So there's probably a lot of things that went into why he blocked. But still, if that's his knee-jerk reaction, something for him to get curious about. Next, they discussed the open discussion of Kristen's door being ajar after decision day. And Alexis stepped up to be the protective friend and say, hey, are you going to leave my girl hanging? Basically, are you going to leave my girl hanging out there? Are you going to come back to her? Is this really something that you are interested in, or is she just going to be waiting by the phone? And Mitch felt, like we stated last week, Mitch felt very ganged up on, right? Mitch also has a difficulty like Justin. Very similar. They respond differently, but very similar when in a moment of high emotion. It's very difficult for both of them to articulate what they want to say, how they want to say it. And so it just comes out. And for Mitch, it comes out in the most like hurtful way. Not said where it's going to harm someone, but man, it end up just blows. It just, right? And Alexis' protective energy that she has towards her friend, while the intent of that is so beautiful, right? Looking out for Kristen. The impact of that is that, man, Kristen and Mitch's situation is just there. It's there, and both of them were hurt by that situation. Both of them. Mitch played a part in it. Alexis played a part in it, and even Kristen played a part in it. As she said, the door was still open, and in front of everyone, right? As they were discussing things, and at the same time, that's something for them to have a conversation by themselves in regards to if they're going to continue to explore a relationship. That's for them to have by themselves, not in an open forum for everybody to have their input in, especially because Mitch has done some things that have made people be upset at him. Like, they have done some things, and so he knows that. So better for them to have that conversation by themselves. First, Kevin talks to Miguel and Lindy, and they're still together. They have moved in together. Lindy is revamping their home and adding some life, she said, and Miguel's fine with that. Lindy is playing Dungeons and Dragons every week, and Miguel says she's very good at it. They're finding their learning curve. Miguel stated that he has seen the heights of Lindy's rage part, the part of her that explodes when she is in a vulnerable space, in a dark space. And he said, I've seen it, and he's still in it. They talked about Promgate and how Miguel said, he learned so much. He was really realizing that he's introverted, needs his space, needs his alone time, and he was looking for Lindy to be a support for him to lean on her. And man, things escalated. He did not say things how he wanted to say them, and they've learned from that. Lindy said that situation actually helped her to realize that, man, if we can come from that, then I'm feeling more secure in this relationship. Lindy hyphenated her name. Miguel didn't really state how he felt about the fact that Lindy hyphenated her name, and if that compromise worked for him. Lindy said it did work for her, but I'm curious if it is feeling more settled, or it's feeling settled for Miguel. But it seems like both of them are in a really good space, and they're really doing well, and I truly wish them the best. I hope that they are learning more about themselves, and hopefully being brave enough to do some therapy. I know both of them have done some work in that area, and so if they need it, I'm sure that they will revisit it if needed, right? Next, we have Stasha and Nate, and they talk about, their love is kind of first sight moment where Nate was smitten and Stasha was scared and didn't even want to look at Nate at the beginning, but they really grew to really appreciate each other, and how much they had in common, how they both were ambitious and driven people and want the same things. They're still together. They're still married. Nate has moved in. They are moving back from home to home. Seems like there's a part of Nate that still is hesitant to fully trust and give up his apartment to move in with Stasha. That is a big thing. That is a really big thing. And I'm curious about what's making Nate be so hesitant about trusting Stasha. I'm curious if he has experienced situations where the rug was pulled from under him and he was left, right? He talked about struggling. I think I can remember that vaguely, that he talked about struggling. And so that's why I believe, the part of him that it's we're not doing that anymore. We have worked ourselves up to the place where we are established. We're going to take our time. I see that Stasha is allowing that to happen, so I give her a little kudos. You do see that she's frustrated, and I understand. I understand why she's frustrated. 8-month lease, that's a long time to be going from home to home. And at the same time, she did state that because they are together, they're not separate, that she's okay with it. And you can make the best out of it. Hey, all right, we'll do some time in suburbia, and then you got an apartment downtown, hang out. It can be fun. If they embrace it that way. In the area of emotional vulnerability, they're still growing in this area. She said that, she wants it consistently, all the time, right? This demanding part's coming back out. She wants it all the time, consistently, and that has been a theme definitely in their marriage with Stasha. She wants Nate to show up at all cylinders all the time. This is Nate. This is new for Nate. This is new for him. And so there are parts of him that he is working with on a consistent basis to help him to be able to be open and vulnerable with her, to trust her, to open up himself. And sometimes when he does that, parts of him are like, now, you shouldn't have did that. Now, what if you open up yourself? What is she going to think about you? Like, there are parts that sometimes as we push back or push through our protectors, or if we try to quiet their voice, they will fight back at us. Oftentimes, you think about it. For an example, like affirmations, therapists, we say do affirmations, right? And when you say things like "I'm beautiful" or "I'm enough," there are parts of us that fight what we're saying. Like, you think, "Are you sure? Are you sure? No, you're not. You have a lot to work on. Did you see that over there?" So it's an internal process. It's an internal process that Nate is working through. And so I'm truly hoping that Stasha can be just as patient as she is with the living situation, with the emotional intelligence growth that Nate has and that he has to develop. And there's a lot of areas, right, that Stasha is being patient on. She's being patient with the housing. She's being patient with the emotional intelligence. She's being patient with the children conversation, right? But he did say that he loves her. He said he's saying it every day. And Stasha said, I knew it. I just wanted him to say it. And yes, it's going to take some time. In Nate's time, anytime you force Nate, we see what happens. He pulls back because this is what he needs to do to feel safe. And Stasha still feels, it seems that it's all Nate. Like he has all this work to do. He does have work to do. Stasha also has work to do as well. This consistency. It's like, okay, Stasha, I don't know if anybody consistently all the time does something, and especially at first. So maybe in the area of patience, the gift that Nate is bringing Stasha is patience and developing patience, because marriage will definitely teach you that. And the area of control, as there's a part of her that wants to do everything and wants things to be done her way. And there's a part of her that says, hey, Nate, why don't you step up and do some things? Well, both of these parts need to have a conversation with each other to determine what's the compromise. Can we let Nate chop the vegetables up in his way if he's going to do dinner? Can we let Nate clean the house his way? Or, can we relinquish some control? Because there's a part of Stasha that feels like Stasha's way is the only way or the best way. And that may or may not be true. And something for her to embrace that Nate's way. Nate brings things to the table too. Nate brings lived experiences to the table. He brings his perspectives to the table. And there needs to be room for that. Also, the last thing was, Nate said, Stasha does not give me credit. Nate says, he does this, but. And Stasha's looking, it seems like, for Nate to do things that she wants him to do. Again, how she wants it. And then she will give him credit, right? He's doing things that he wants to do. Well, he's creating situations for them to spend time together. That's what needs to be appreciated, and the credit, right? He's taking time to plan an activity for them to do together. And it seems like what's not being communicated is that maybe where Stasha can say, hey, Nate, maybe when we plan dates, we can put some suggestions in a jar, and it can be some things that you want and some things that I want, and then we can just pull from it so that it's not one-sided, that Nate's not picking everything that he wants to do and Stasha's not picking things that she wants to do, but whatever comes out of the jar, that is what's planned. That's the activity that's planned. That can be a way where things meet more in the middle. And Stasha has to work on this part of her that wants things in a certain way. And when they don't fit in that way, then Nate's not given the credit. Nate's not getting the words of affirmation that he needs, right? That he truly needs to feel like my wife appreciates me. My wife acknowledges me. That's big. That's big. That's an area of growth for them. It would have been nice to know if Nate was in counseling, as he said that he was going to start that on the show. It would have been nice to know that. And it also would have been nice to know if they are in couples counseling as well, because that was something that they discussed on the show. So we weren't given that information. Hopefully they are, and things are going well. It seems like they are moving and making some progress. But there's still some work to do, and it's pretty early on, so it's going to take some time. Next, we have Kristen and Mitch. And Mitch's honeymoon fumble was revisited and how it, really impact the trajectory of their marriage. It was, Kristen said that, hey, I really didn't believe that he didn't find me attractive. I'm not trying to say I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, but I know I'm cute. I know I'm cute. I know I'm beautiful. And I don't believe that that's really was Mitch's issue. There's a part of me that definitely agrees with her. I feel it was more about Mitch having a way that he felt his wife was supposed to look, and that is a hard thing to navigate. Married at first sight. If you have like a rigid idea, we've seen that in years past, like Chris, the infamous Chris of season 12, people who have like a very rigid idea of what their spouse is supposed to look like, very particular. Mitch wanted like more of a blonde, earthy type of girl. Then that needed to be either articulated to the experts, or he needed to find that person himself. Because married at first sight, you don't know. You don't know, right? We heard it. Alexis says, I want somebody tall. Then she gets someone 6'8". She's like, nah, that's kind of annoying, right? That's like, I'm talking about like 6'3", right? So we have these particulars, right? So this, this was a rocky start. They did make some progress, and it was very shortly after. And Mitch said that, man, Kristen gave me a lot of grace when it came to having that kind of conversation, and I was having some anxiety, and I appreciated that. And I was becoming more open to being connected with her physically, and I got excited. And so there's a part of me that's like, man, that really seems like this was an opportunity. Not I wanted to connect with Kristen, but like this was an opportunity for me to be physically connected with a person instead of with Kristen. Like I wanted to physically connect with Kristen. And so I understand why Kristen definitely put the brakes on in that situation. And Mitch owned it. He said he effed up. Like he owns what he said, how he said it, how it was harmful, and how it made things really hard for them to recover in their relationship. It was really challenging. Then we discover Hobbygate. Which wasn't shown to us, where Mitch says, like, do you have hobbies? And Kristen said, you don't think I have hobbies? And she became really activated by that, saying that that's a common thing that she's heard from men, that women don't have hobbies. And she listed hers, and he said, well, yeah, you do have hobbies. And Mitch felt like he, again, had a box about what hobbies are supposed to be, right, for him, and not opening up, being open to receive that, hey, other people have hobbies outside of what you have in this hobby box for you. Kevin asked again about Mitch's attraction and feelings for Kristen as, their decision day left very friendly, right? Very friendly, very open. So he's like, hey, do you still have feelings for her? Are you still attracted to her? And yes. And Mitch said, but it's not likely. It's not likely that we will revisit this relationship. And Kristen said that she wants someone who's secure about her and to choose her. Absolutely. Kristen stated that for her, Poolgate was for her like the final straw in their relationship with Mitch. Talked to her sister. He's got a lot of work to do to navigate relationships. He just doesn't understand them. He truly doesn't understand the nuances in relationships, and he's got a lot of work to do for sure. And he owned that. He said, I'm not dating anybody right now. I want to really kind of process what happened. And so Kristen talked about how after Poolgate, she realized like this can't happen. This is too much. But once she had her moment in front of everyone, this huge, they were able to come to some like place of connection from that and understanding. And Mitch was able to affirm Kristen in the ways that she needed, because so much damage was done. So much damage was done about her appearance and him trying to edit her appearance. And so having that affirmation and validation from Mitch was appreciated. And they had some good moments on the retreat. And Mitch fumbled a little bit again by saying that, for him, again, it's just not, he still had concerns about their relationship. And for Kristen, she was like, how could you say that when we had some really great moments? It seems like maybe she's alluding to the fact that they were physically intimate too on the retreat. And Mitch was saying, oh yes, on the retreat, yes, we were in a really good place, but as of now, overall, yes, I still have concerns about our relationship. Kristen gave her update as well, stating that she relocated and she's working in New York and liking that life, and she's met someone new. It's still pretty new, but she's still open and feels like she's going to meet the right person soon. I hope and wish the best for them, and really hope that Mitch comes to a space where he's able to be more secure in himself and learn about communicating directly and the nuances of relationships. Socially, it seems like that's a part of him that has an area of growth. Absolutely. Next, we have Ben and Morgan. And of course, they talked about their initial attraction to each other and how Morgan was smitten with Ben and his charm and his muscles. She was excited, but that was short-lived on the honeymoon as Nursegate came up. And, initially she said that she did accept and believe Ben's apology on the beach. She wishes that Ben would have come to her first and talked to her first about his concerns versus going to Justin. And so she was caught off guard. That I understand. And at the same time, it wasn't also brought up that Morgan was dishonest with production. Like, that was not addressed still at the reunion. Morgan did show some compassion to Ben, stating that, he was under a lot of pressure, and maybe that's why he went to Justin, continuously through their marriage, even though that was something that she said that really made her mad and upset, that he was under a lot of pressure, and she understood that. So it's good to see that there's some warmness happening and some growth there too on Morgan's side. And Ben stated that Justin did do him a disservice by putting him on speakerphone and in front of his wife, right? And making that a part of their marriage discussion, right? We've seen this part of Justin and Alexis that does have commentary about other people's marriages. And so that seems to have played a part in Ben and Morgan's marriage, which we know. Alexis went to Morgan instead of talking to Justin and telling Justin to have a conversation with Ben. Alexis decided to go herself to talk to Morgan, which I feel added insult to injury. Morgan stated that she doesn't regret ending the relationship. She really feels like Ben just wasn't her person, but she does regret ending it early. That's what she stated. I'm a little bit curious about that. I don't know. If she knows that he wasn't her person, what's the harm in ending it early? Maybe she felt like being so harsh with him was something that she needed to be a little bit more open to him. Ben stated that he realizes he wasn't ready for marriage. He wasn't ready for marriage and he needed to heal his inner child. And Kevin was like, you guys, with all this therapy language, he maybe needs to get a little comfortable with this therapy language, as this is married at first sight. And so people's inner child show up often in marriage. I posted this earlier, that, man, trauma, we hold that and we store that in our bodies, but it is revealed and it shows up in our relationships. And so he doesn't know that he was interacting with Justin and Nate's inner children when they had their scuffle at the beginning of the episode, but he's interacting with people's inner childs, whether he knows it or not, and he also has one too. Ben gave more details, saying that he was bullied as a kid, being only Asian child in the school, and also just feeling just not good enough. And Ben stated that a month after they ended the relationship, he reached out to Morgan and just really apologized again, that if I made you feel like you weren't good enough, then I'm truly sorry. Morgan stated that was the apology that she was waiting for. She felt like it was very sincere. And Kevin said, well, we all were thinking of, hey, he apologized to you so many times. But Morgan said that he was just regurgitating what other people were telling him. And she wanted him to come to a place in himself to truly understand why he was needing to apologize instead of going off what other people were telling him to say. Okay, I hear that. Morgan said that she has moved from San Diego and she's planning to do some traveling. And Ben stated that he got a new job and he's appreciating that. And he's also looking to do some traveling. Both of them are stating that marriage is far down the line. Morgan said she's dating, but nothing serious, just having fun. And again, wish both of them the best. Last, we end with Alexis and Justin. And we talk about, man, they started off strong. They started out so strong, but there were so many dips and turns and twists along the way. As Justin was truly smitten with Alexis, their connection was really electric. Alexis talked about how they both were open and committed to the marriage from the beginning. And even though they both said, I love you early, they both meant it. And Justin did say that maybe he moved a little too fast. Then we learned that the couple consummated their marriage actually on the honeymoon. And Justin wanted to keep this secret, and Alexis honored that. And then he outed the secret when he became upset, and then said, well, hey, you agreed. It's like he was using the dog situation. That and it's a difference. It's difference. Like, well, you decided to give away your dog, so that's you, right? This was more of like Justin saying, hey, let's not tell people that we consummated the marriage on the honeymoon. And maybe there was some embarrassment about it because of how it went. There was some discrepancy about what happened and what occurred as they consummated their marriage, about the length of it, the satisfaction of it, all of those things. And so there's a part of me that feels like Justin was wanting to keep it a secret because there was some shame about it and didn't want it to be a discussion for the whole group. And so that's different. That's different. What I will say too is this makes more sense with the timeline of their relationship, because when they said that they consummated their marriage, it was so long down the line, and it was at the area where their relationship was so like just up and down and up and down and up and down. It just didn't seem, to my logical part, that was when they made the decision to consummate their marriage. Kevin asked if they were still together, and they said no, they weren't, and that Justin ended the relationship. And Alexis said, no, I have receipts, I have text messages. And Justin said, hey, you came to me, you called me drunk, and there was more conflict. Justin did say that, hey, I'm not being emotional just because I'm not allowing you to create a narrative about our relationship that isn't true to what I feel happened. It's hard to know because, man, Justin definitely showed a side of him earlier in the episode that could make you question, like really make you question whether he's being truthful or not. But the episode ends with this, like, did you end it or did you not end it? And so we come back to kind of determine what happened with Alexis and Justin. But let me know your thoughts about where you feel these couples are now after decision day, what your thoughts are about the conflicts that did happen during the reunion. And if you are still watching, if you are still here with me, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, be cool, be calm, be centered. Peace.